نفسي أعرف ليه إسلام ويب ده مقفول في السعودية؟
ليه؟ عشان هو بتاع المنجد محمد صالح الراجل ده بيعرفوه.
إمم. أنا جايب لك بقى شوية حاجات زيادة. اوعى.
انزل بس انزل بس. اللي انا هجيب لك سلايد احسن. انت لسه نمبر 5 ماشي. هو في 9 هنا، تيجي ناخد 9 دي. until you just keep adjusting until you stop adjusting. مستقبلي ها سكرام تاش
يا عم
ولا
باقول لك confirm
كل
confirm
بوي
confirm أنت تقعد توجع
تكلم؟
دماغك.
انا عاجبني السكرام تاش. Please don't ask.
كلام طشت.
You know what time is it right now؟ هي لا. Is the time that it is right now the correct? Yes.
تزلكوح.
What is time anyway? Is there anything about yourself you haven't told me? Yes. Help? Yes. You come
لا
back
يا
with
راجل.
me? No. إيه؟ بيجين جيجين.
هي المنيو كانت متغيرة؟
لا.
يا عم لأ السكرين اللي عليها كان متغير.
لا يا عم. He
All of
found
his
the man.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
اشتري الانجار كده كده مش ايه ده فين.
Oh good, you noticed my
ايه ده انا قلت
sign.
انا الحته دي.
Yes, I have something very exciting to show
لا
you.
في يقول لي ويلكم ومش ويلكم معرفش ايه. اطلع على المسرح بتاعه الجزء التاني. ايه ده هنعيد دي تاني. خرجنا من النص.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2. Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
الانفينيت هول.
راح البك.
ارجع طيب روح.
ولا الاشياء انا بس ما اخلص دي.
طب ما احنا كنا في الانفينيت هول.
بعد ما خلصت اللي حصل
ما قلتش حاجة.
ما كملناش.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right, infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward. You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to
هنطلع عنده
pop
تاني.
back up to the top, and we can continue onward. Great. Now,
مش
I'm
انت عايز
very
تكمل؟
excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
ماشي.
Okay, and I guess we're back in the hole now. Did you really need to see it again? I don't know what else there is to say, Stanley. It's an infinite hole. It's exactly what you're doing right now, but forever. There really are so many other fascinating exhibits that I've prepared for you. I really spent quite a lot of time on all this, and I would very much like to show you some more of them. How about we go ahead and press that teleport button again so we can get back to what's really important about... Oh, goodness. Well, this is rather embarrassing, Stanley. I'll be honest with you. I truly did not believe that anyone would actually stay in the hole long enough to hit the bottom. Yes, I know, I told you the hole was infinite, but come on. Who actually wants to fall forever? The hole was plenty deep. It was more than deep enough, in my opinion. Maybe it's you who likes falling too much. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up. Oh, for heaven! You see, I was right. The problem is you. The problem is that you like holes too much. Not normal. A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there, goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of... Oh. Did the hole seem even shorter to you this time? I couldn't help but feel like you spent a little less time in there than you did before. I mean, admittedly, I didn't make an infinite hole, but I didn't think it was that not infinite. Well, I suppose once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the teleport button and come join me up above. Had enough? I'm positively thrilled. Gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this starts to become a thing where... Wow, okay, yes. I'm starting to become extremely certain that the hole is not only not infinite, but that it's growing steadily less and less infinite. I suspect that I'm starting to hit the point where it's no longer feasible to call the hole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for accountability and marketing. What's going on here? Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the hole's length. Here, let's try something. Let's pop back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets any shorter. Well, there it is. The shame of my... How is this still appealing to
تنزلش
you?
تنزلش.
I know you're obsessed with holes, but at this depth, I just can't see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here to do and hit the teleport button when you're ready to move on. Is the, teleport button not working? You sure? Well, I mean, I really don't have an explanation. It was working just a moment ago. Try it again. Still nothing?
احنا هنشوف
Well, I
12 Angry
suppose
Men المرة الجاية بقى.
I suppose there is
There
one
you
thing I can do to fix this. I'm out.
ماشي.
Goodbye, Stanley. You couldn't bear to be away
And
from
he's
the
gone
hole,
now for the
and
film.
now you'll
Look
get
around,
more
look
time
away.
with it than you could ever have asked for. It's a win for everyone. You get to be with the hole, I get to do literally anything else. Take care, Stanley. I hope you and the hole have a wonderful rest of eternity.
سلام انت حبيبي.
sauce now.
تقدر تحس ان هم بيقلدوا نتفليكس صح؟
بايه يعني؟
ايوه يا عم، شوف الدخله بتاعت نتفليكس تدين. دوس اتش دوس اتش، اسمع الصوت ده بيقلدوه.
Stanley? Stanley? Stanley! Oh, good, you're awake. It seems you had sort of dozed off there, drifting away into dreamland. But we can't have that, Stanley, because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss a single moment. So how about if I just pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really, truly focused on the hole? From the looks of things, you and I will have many, many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley. I'll be back. Toodle-pip.
Toodle-pip.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
ما فاهم كلمات. أبدأ بإيه؟ خلاص ناخد الجردل كده سكرين شوت ونعزل.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
No.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Yes.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes, you see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that. Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
يا جيمرز. خلاص.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
مفيش. خلاص. احنا محتاجين نعمل نفس البتاع تاني. قلت ما جيناش هنا صح؟
لا.
Collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life. God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic. Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential. You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's a... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle? Oh, well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece, then.
دوس على الزرار تاني بسرعة كده.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and... Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim.
Jim.
Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name. Okay, we're doing it again, and this time let me finish first. Now, allow yourself to become Jim.
Jim.
All right, fine, whatever. It's just a meaningless button that says Jim. Are you happy now? Get out of here. I'm done with this button. Why don't you go humiliate me in front of a different feature that I worked very hard on?
Jim.
See, if you'd only played along, that would have been your name the button says, but no.
Jim.
Instead,
Jim.
oh,
Jim.
I can't
Jim.
even think
Jim.
about it.
Jim.
I'm taking the Jim
Jim.
button away.
Jim. 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 Jim.
نعمل ازاي؟
Maybe I'll only let people named Jim play the Stanley. An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it will go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
إبيلوج يعني اللي بيجي في الآخر يا ريوي. لوج انترلود ايه ده برضه دي مطلعنا ايه ده ريتنجز وورلد شامبيون مطلعناش هنا
ايه ده جديدة دي.
ازاي فين هنا كده
بالظبط.
All right, have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Yep.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay, are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2.
دول
Who am I kidding, Stanley?
هات الزرار
This
والبطرة
isn't a coherent
والمكنة
video game at all. It's a
والبتاع.
lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up.
ارزع في نص
All right,
الشاشة.
perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
كيف عملها جامدية
دول
دخلت هنا عادي
اللعبة دي يونيك فحت.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked.
البلالين اهي
All of his co-workers were
اللي
gone.
بيقول لك
What could it
هابي
mean?
مش عارف ايه
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
رشق لنا ايه فيه
Stanley picked up the bucket.
عايزين نلم الاستنليهات الصغيرة هو قال ان هو حطهم في اللعبة صح؟ كان دور عليهم بقى ولا مفيش كونتين احنا اوريدي في الجزء التاني
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
مش معايا ولا في كيس
والله مش عارف.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that,
إيه ده؟
can't you? The aura of jealousy.
جديدة
It's
دي.
as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket.
لا
I know
خلاص
how
نكمل.
hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket.
عايز
This is
أسيبه.
your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the
Yes,
broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
عارف منين.
Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go. There. Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things. All right, I've got a second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see, I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket. That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket. There really is a wide variety of applications for this sticker. You know what? I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us a silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
بس ايه.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
ده مختلف، كلام مختلف. ايه ده؟
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
بس no, that's easy go. There was effortless. That's okay.
ミッドジョインド
السلام عليكم.
رايحين انكسيا.
مش عارف دخلوا الانستنس تاني يفارموا الموكس ومش عارف وفي روك كده عايز يفتح
Stepping
شخصية.
into his manager's office, Stanley was
كنت
once
نقلت
again
خلاص
stunned to discover not an indication of any
So,
human life. Crushed
قلت
by
لهم
the
سلام
weight of this
بقى جماعة.
revelation, Stanley may have broken down into... But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all
هم
along?
اصلا كل ما يجي
Was the
الواد اجي ده ما
bucket
بيعرفش
guiding him? Yes,
ما بيعرفش
this is
يليد ريد ولا
certainly the most
بتاع، بيبقى تايه
logical
كده ومش عارف يعمل ايه.
explanation.
اصلا ما كانش عارف يستخدم جرجول الا فين وفين اما قعدوا الواد تولكاس ده اللي اسمه قاعد يعلمه ازاي يستخدمه. وده اصلا كل التوريدز جاي وهو معاه
Another
سلوت
miniature
بس في
Stanley
الانفنتوري
figurine.
بتاعه
This, you know, there
فاضي.
really must be a
عمال
snappier
يديني
name for these
الايتمز
things. What about
وانا اديها له
mini
وبعدين يعملها
stands?
رول
Stanley
اديله 2 ايتمز
things.
2 ايتمز.
What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
بس مفيش حاجة إلا وقعت يعني. هو الكتب بتاعت الميجيس اللي وقعت والبتاع ده وقع اسمه ايه اللي أنا وأنت جبنا الشغل.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Wait, Stanley said to the bucket. Can we go back up? When I was pressing those keypad buttons, there was something very intriguing about the number 3. I want to go back so I can try pressing the number 3 again. The bucket said nothing.
بس 3 مثلا.
تلاتة
قال لك رقم 3 في حاجة.
Here we are, said Stanley. Now I'm going to try out that number 3 button. He took the bucket over to the keypad and began absolutely slamming on the number 3 over and over and over. Well, he said, the number 3 is such a special button. I'm having the time of my life. Stanley looked expectantly at the bucket, but the bucket remained silent. This was a shock to Stanley, who had always felt such a connection with the bucket. How was this not as exciting to the bucket as it was to him? Once Stanley had had enough of the number 3, he got back in the elevator.
عمرو هو البتاع بتاعت الريستد اكس بي اللي بتطلع لك الليفل والريستد اكس بي وكده البار ده بيتحرك ازاي؟ ده ويك ورا ولا ده ايه ده؟
العادية دي الكورة. ماكس بي.
يعني انا افتح سلاش دبليو اي ومفروض يعرف احركه ولا هو اسمه ايه؟
سيرش فوق على الشمال اكتب اكسبيرينس.
Perhaps the bucket had missed something. Perhaps it had not seen how much joy Stanley got from slamming the number 3 repeatedly. A hint of regret nagged in the back of Stanley's mind. Should he demonstrate the number 3 for the bucket again? No, said Stanley to the bucket. You can't go on yet. Not till you understand how much the number 3 means to me. You and I have been through so much together, and I just want you to see what I see. Feel the happiness I feel. He smiled at the bucket, and the bucket said nothing. Here we go, said Stanley. This time I'll really show you. He ran to the number 3 and began to wail on it like a musician on a beloved instrument, weaving a concerto of truth and passion. He wielded the number 3 like a fine artist would wield a paintbrush. He told stories through the number 3, stories of his dreams and hopes and fears. The whole time, he looked to his bucket for a reaction of some kind. Anything to let him know that the bucket appreciated what he was doing. The bucket conveyed absolutely nothing at all, only silence. Crushed by a wave of dejection, Stanley returned to the elevator. Stanley and the bucket were so close. They'd always been there for one another. Why suddenly could the bucket not connect with this passion of Stanley's? The question caused Stanley to ruminate the whole way down the elevator. He knew that there must be a way to get through to the bucket, to communicate fully with his dear friend. Surely there was a solution, mustn't there be? Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
I think I will sleep يا جدعان. sleep.
راح فين؟ نمشي قدام ولا ليه؟
ミドレフト
احنا المرة اللي فاتت رحنا في الاكزيت وخلصنا تقريبا السكتين. المايند كنترول روح على المايند كنترول
جردل
خلاص.
جردل المرة.
اه هيحميك يعني.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system. But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again.
Sorry.
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at
السينما
all.
مقطع عليه.
It was a facility for monitoring.
دلوقتي ها
لا هو مش شغال اصلا، انت على بتاع ده، على المنيو.
and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
هنا قبل كده صح؟ كده غير That's the completion of state. There will be a reward for finding them all. I want to go home. A large room. It's a box here. Here. Somewhere. Agenda. Bigly. Alright.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating?
هو نفس الكلام بالظبط
No,
في الحتة
Stanley
دي.
said to himself, this is all too
دي
strange.
اللي
This
كان
can't be
آخرها
real. And
ست
at
جت
last,
فتنا على
he
الأرض.
came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. he just hadn't found the
انا
words
كان
for
ممكن
it.
اهرب تقريبا.
I'm dreaming! He yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She rose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
スーパーソニックレフト